So I've been using this camera for 120 days, and honestly, there are some things that I absolutely love about this camera, and then there's a couple things that kind of bother me about this camera and kind of wish that I regret actually buying it. So in this video, we are going to be discussing the Canon R7 and do I actually regret buying this camera in the first place? So let's get into it. So one of the things I absolutely love about the Canon R7 is its autofocus. Um, Pretty much when it comes to the eye detection, it's very, very quick. It doesn't really lose focus with me when I'm doing talking head videos with YouTube. But also too, if I'm just doing just standard, photography, when it comes to portraits, headshots, and I'm taking those type of photos, it detects the eye very quickly and I don't lose focus at all. And that's super important, especially when you're taking photos or even when you're doing videos. Um, Autofocus is secure. It's one of the main things that you really, really need pertaining to a camera. Second point that I want to bring up pertaining to this camera, is image quality. With the 32.5 megapixel sensor that's in this camera, especially with it being a crop sensor, you're able to actually crop in and get super detailed images when it comes to taking photos. And that's why a lot of people pick up these type of cameras, mainly for crop sensor cameras, mainly because you're able to get the super detail when you're cropping in, especially if you're doing wildlife photography. I feel as when it comes to this particular camera for wildlife, it's really what this, is really for this particular purpose. Because you get a professional feel, but, you can still, get everything that you need zoomed in, cropped in, when it comes to, the detailing of, the sensor, when it comes to the subject. So like I said, when you're taking pictures of people, pets, animals, flying objects, you're able to get that super crisp detail because of the fact that it's crop censored. And that's where, the image quality with the autofocus blends in perfectly. So, like I said, if you are looking for good image quality, the 32.5 megapixel is really, really good. And it's really just enough, especially for a crop sensor body. The third thing that I actually want to speak on would be the ergonomics of the camera. It does give you a professional type feel. It has a good grip, me being able to hold the camera. It's really comfortable for me to use. The reason why I love using, Canon cameras is because of the simplicity of, the button layouts, the menu options, like I said, the ergonomics of the bodies. It just makes it comfortable for people to get used to just using the camera and just getting out there and actually shooting. So that's one of the things that, makes me want to stick with Canon, but also it's one of the reasons why, I love the camera pertaining to the ergonomic features for the camera. Now, even though there are some good things pertaining to this camera, it does have it downsized. So we're actually going to talk about the bad parts of this Canon R7 and the parts that actually make me regret in a way sometimes of having this camera on deck. So one of the things that we're going to be discussing when it comes to the bad would be the rolling shutter. And if nobody really knows what rolling shutter is, it's pretty much when you have it, because of the fact of, of how the body and how the sensor and how the lenses are set up with this camera, depending on how if you're running gun and you're doing free shooting and you're actually trying to do transitions and movements with the camera, there's going to be some whipping or some, warp when it comes to, moving the camera. Even if you have it on a gimbal or if you have it set up to where you have image stabilization set on, you still get that warp, that type of movement type feel when it comes to the video side, which kind of gives us this downsize because even with the image stabilization in the digital image stabilization, by you adding that onto the actual sensor itself, it's gonna crop in massively to where you need a wide lens to add to this body to kind of take away the disadvantages of the rolling shutter. So I would say if you are going to be doing talking head videos like YouTube, you don't necessarily have to worry about the rolling shutter because you're just doing talking heads. But like I said, if you're doing a lot of movement, a lot of action, a lot of sports, and you're trying to actually keep up and actually move around, You're going to need a lot of accessories to attach to the camera to make sure that the rolling shutter is not as massive as it would be, but either way, it's always going to be there. So that's part of the issue when it comes to the R7. Second point that I would actually bring up would be the amount of lenses that's actually going to be used for this R7. So with the RFS lens options, there's not many. You can use full frame lenses on this Canon R7. The problem is that, you know, depending on the type of length that you're going to be using, you know, for the camera is actually going to crop in, because the full frames are going to crop in and can't use the full sensor. So for example, I have this 16 on this body, and with the 16, it's not really a 16, it's truly acting as a 24, 24 close to 25 milli. It just kind of gets to a point where you feel like you need to get a full frame camera in order to utilize everything that comes out of the lenses that you have. But you know, that really just depends on your budget and how you actually structure everything. And the last thing that I guess I can really pertain to this R7, it's not full frame. So with the rolling shutter, with the fact that they're limited in the RFS lenses and I have to get full frame lenses, and the fact that it's not a full frame camera or full frame body, it kind of sucks a little bit. And you know, you think about it, it's like, okay, if you have all that, and that's, you know, kind of the issues that you have once you just invest into a full frame camera. Well, at the time, I actually sold my M50 to get the R7, and just based off budget reasons and based off of what I was looking for into a camera, I couldn't afford a full frame camera at the time. So the R7 was pretty much my best option, my best choice. So that's the only reason why I ended up getting the R7, mainly because I needed something that was a hybrid based camera that can kind of give me features of a full frame camera, even though it's not full frame. And I just needed something to where I can get started, to where if I wanted to eventually invest into a full frame camera, then I have that option and I still have a good camera to use. So after 120 days of actually picking up this camera, is this camera worth buying for me? Do I regret it? I would say as of right now, so far so good. Like I said, the main purpose of me having this camera mainly would be for my photography when it comes to portraits, headshots, any type of like corporate, you know, base type photography. I would love to use this camera, especially with the detailing of the 32.5 megapixels. When it comes to videos, I don't necessarily have any issues as of right now. Like I said, I mainly use this for YouTube purposes. So when it comes to the YouTube videos, the talking head videos, definitely use this camera. Then on top of that too, I'm still early when it comes to my client work, so I haven't really tested it out to the max. But with the features that I've already used on myself with this camera, I know there are some downsides. So I would have to kind of readjust and kind of reconfigure how I do the work, so I don't come up with any type of mishaps with this camera. It definitely was a huge upgrade from when I had my Canon M50. So, you know, this is a huge upgrade for me, but I'm not going to stick with this for long. At some point, I am going to upgrade to a full frame camera. And then at that point, you know, I'll be in a full frame game to where I can utilize everything that I need to my advantage. So if you're trying to see about the Canon R7 and how the actual camera works when it comes to my workflow on my MacBook Pro M5, I do have two videos that you actually can view. One will be on my first impressions, or you know, my 3-month review on the M5, and then I do have an actual, you know, review on the Canon R7 if you actually want to see about picking one up and you kind of want to see about the details or the in-depth review on this camera. So I do have those videos down in my playlist that you actually can view. So go ahead and check those out, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.